We are live. Okay, let's get this started. We are 35 minutes past the time that we agreed on, but for Sajid, it has been like 2 hours late. Oh my God.
Yeah.
So hello, everybody. Welcome to Bashment Book Club. I am Paige. You are on my channel tonight. I'll let these two people beside me introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Sajid. I'm from the channel Books. I'm sorry. I'm Sajid. I'm from the channel Books of My Social Life. Okay, Linnell, your turn now, for real.
Hi, I'm Linnell from the blog Weekend Reader.
And today we are discussing With the Fire on High by Acevedo. I finished this about 4 hours ago.
I finished it about like a month and a half ago.
Yeah, y'all actually read this like on point, on time. I was out here reading all these other books instead. Synopsis of this book: there is a teenage mom. She lives in Philadelphia, and she's struggling to figure out what she wants to do with her future because obviously there's constraints in her life. Since she has a kid, she has to think about like where she's going to get money to help with her family. She's being raised by her grandmother because her dad lives in Puerto Rico, where her dad's side of the family is from. And yeah, she wants to be a chef. There are a lot of little like recipes within the book, and she has like a really big talent for cooking. And so basically this whole book is about her discovering what she wants to do with her future, and sort of like just we see her life as a teenager who has a kid and the sort of struggles that she would be going through. Is that a good synopsis?
Yeah, that's
That is
great.
a good synopsis. Touched on everything.
Section. Okay, so what were our thoughts? I knew that's what you were
That's what I was gonna say. What overall like thoughts, ratings, etc.
Well, yeah. I liked the book. I thought it gave me like the warm and fuzzies. I cried at the end. There are gonna be spoilers in case, because the dad came and stayed. I literally, when she was like, his bag is bigger than before, I put down the book and was like, is he gonna stay? And I like sobbed.
I get it. Yeah.
It was beautiful. So yeah, lots of feelings about this book. The short chapters sort of annoyed me, but otherwise I was absolutely obsessed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I enjoyed it as well. I think it was, again, Elizabeth Acevedo, beautiful writing, great storytelling. It was a nuanced story that's typically written or in the media done really negatively, and I really appreciated like the multi-generational approach to telling the story, right? Like, you know, it included the grandmother, a little bit about the father, and then her story. So I thought that was really, really good. And I think we keep talking about like Black community, the Latinx community. This is one of the first times where I feel like the crossover with Afro-Latino was done like really, really well. So,
what did you think, Sajid?
I really liked it. It was really good. Again, just like y'all, I thought it was well written. I liked the characters. I especially liked the main character. I like that it was a story about a teen mom that wasn't just a story about a teen mom, and that it wasn't a negative, stereotypical portrayal of that. Because I feel like in young adults, some young adults have kids, so it's good to portray that representation positively. Not just for the young adults who have kids to see themselves, but for other young adults to just kind of normalize it and not make it seem like this big, bad thing. So I like that. I like that it's a story about a young girl who's essentially pursuing a creative art and coming to terms with the fact that, you know, she can make something of herself from that. And yeah, it was just really good. I liked it.
Yeah, this is the first time I'd read about like a person of color who was interested in like cooking and like culinary, like that kind of like stream, like entertainment-y kind of like lifestyle, instead of just like usually people when they're like trying to like get out of their situation, it's usually like, oh, I want to be a lawyer, oh, I want to be a doctor,
oh, I want to be a rapper.
Yeah, like the God.
Or an NBA or, you know, athlete or whatever.
Yeah, so it was interesting to see like the cooking aspects of it. And I also really enjoyed that even though she was a teen mom, you still saw her as a teenager in the book. like she was still a child.
Mhm.
Like her grandma still treated her like she was a kid. Like there was a lot of parallels in the beginning where she would like talk to her daughter a certain way, and then her grandma would talk to her like that. So I like that
Mhm.
she wasn't like advanced and made like to seem like a woman just because she had a
Yeah.
kid. Like she was still a kid
Yeah.
herself. Like I really enjoyed that.
I still thought she was a little, and maybe because she's a mom, right? She seemed grown up, right? Like she was
Yeah.
making not decisions just for like the next week. She was thinking long term, and she was always thinking
Yeah.
about how it's going to impact the baby. So I thought that was like, even though she's a child, there's a part of her that had to grow up.
It was a good balance of showing that, on the one hand, she is young, she's still a child, she's still a teenager, but she still balances that youth with responsibility because at the end of the day, she's still a mother. So I really
Yeah.
like that you kind of got the duality of that. And it wasn't just either an overly mature young woman who had to give up being a child or irresponsible little girl who can't handle being a mother.
Yeah.
What did you guys think about the emails that she sent to Aunt Sarah? Like I personally
I
found them
love
like
them.
slightly, yeah, I was like they kind of like felt like what is that term? But basically where like the $300 came in clutch at like the right exact moment. And like we never got to hear from Aunt Sarah herself. So I felt like there was like a little bit missing for me with those emails.
It's interesting that you say that because I think what I walked away with that is like, should I still be a part of your life because our families weren't ever, close? And especially since oh gosh, spoilers, now that your mom is dead, like I don't know what to do with you. So I love you and let me help. But it's true, it was convenient. But sometimes I think that happens, like you find that $50. Whoever has cash, not me.
Yeah.
Whenever I find money, I'm like, ooh, girl, let's get this
I
new.
liked it. I actually really liked it because I like email relationships in books,
Me
and
too.
I I like that. Yeah, and I like that. It was meant to be somewhat of a connection to her mom's side of the family. So I felt like this could have been an easy story where my mother died, and then that's
Right.
that's just that. But like you're actually kind of bringing your mother and your mother's side of the family into this story a little bit, and I really like that.
Didn't you mention in your review the cooking could have been on the line of like magical realism because
Yeah, I didn't realize that when I was reading it, and then I watched Jesse's review, Jesse from Both Eyes and Books, and they said that there is an element of magical realism in it because every time somebody eats her food, it invokes a memory.
Yeah.
And they were basically saying that like in Afro-Latinx culture, food and cooking is a way of invoking memory and connecting to your heritage and your past, which is also the case for a lot of other Black and brown communities. Like food is a really huge part of who we are and our history and our culture, and it tells a story and it connects us to our heritage and family and all that kind of deep stuff.
And so that gives her another way to connect back to her mom. So to me, that was like another way to preserve like her mom's memory because that's why.
Because she got recipes from her auntie. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think so. The one thing that I was upset about is her dad, right? Like he was out in the world doing all of this activism, but he wasn't taking care of home. But after, I can't remember whose review, I was like, you know what? This is like a good example of how some people are good outside of the house, but when you talk to their children, it's a whole different story. Not that he was like a horrible father, but he was absent, right? Especially when she needed him. And so, yeah.
I really enjoyed that portrayal. Yeah, because like the parents, like I feel like because she also had a kid, like she understood like just because you're a good parent doesn't mean you're necessarily like a good person, and vice versa. Just because you're a good person doesn't mean you're a good parent. Because look at Tyrone; he's really good with the baby, but he is
he's not really a good person.
Yeah. Oh, his family. Just another good example of how toxic like Christians can be. Like, oh, you made our son do this. He was an active participant. He was absolved of all responsibility in making this baby, and then it's like, you're not going to ruin his chances for going to college, but we'll take the baby because that makes us look like good. I was like, ooh, ooh.
Yeah,
But,
when the baby has the fever
Yeah.
and the mom is like, "Oh, like
It's
where
your
were you?
fault.
You're so irresponsible." But then it's like, "Where's Tyrone? Why are you the one picking the baby up and not him?" Like, and
Yeah.
the way she points that out in the book
Classic.
too.
I think the
Classic.
book did a good job at kind of showing that the burdens of childcare is laid upon the
On the
mother,
women.
because Imani is the one who has to take care of the child full time, right? And even when the father f's up, his mother, his bougie mother, is the one who ends up kind of,
Steps in.
saving the day for him. And then her dad, Imani's dad, completely disappeared
Yep.
from her life, and nobody questions it, because if it was her mom who did something like that, then that would have been a bigger issue. And then the grandmother, now you raised your child, then you
Yep.
have to raise your child's child, because your child didn't want to take care of the
Yep.
child, and then you have to raise your child's child,
Right.
Yeah.
because she can't raise her child on her own, because the child's father is a waste of time.
You know where that comes up again too is in the come up, right? When the mom is a recovering addict, right? And nobody wants to talk about like she's doing better now. They always want to go back to she was a crackhead and she can't ever be a good mom. So I think you hit it on the head. Like there's no responsibility on the father once he leaves. So I thought it was good writing. Good writing. All of these sub messages.
Yeah.
What did you guys think? Like, this is the first time we've read a book where it's like set in the US and not on an island, right? So what did you guys think of like the way that she tied the island back to the story itself, and also colonization, because she goes to Spain, which colonized Puerto Rico?
Yeah. It was very interesting, because I felt like she didn't really care that much. She I think it was kind of interesting, because she associated that sort of criticism of the colonizer with her dad. So I felt like she sort of kind of pushed it aside, just like how she pushes aside her feelings about her dad, if that makes sense. Yeah, I remember her not like wanting to pay too much attention to the fact that Spain was the colonizer or whatever, because she just didn't. Yeah, she didn't want that to like just to thing her experience.
Yeah. Well, I thought it was like kind of like the story of like second and third generation migrants, right? Like you want to hold on and preserve your family's heritage, but you don't really have any connection to it because there's some cultural sauce, right, that you miss along the way, because yes, you might speak the language, yes, you might know where it is located geographically, but that place, that culture is fluid, right? So once you move away from it, you lose some of that essence because you're not there. And I think like many of us who leave the islands, like you have to make a choice about like how you perform, right? And you assimilate as best as you can. But when things get, really dicey, you want to invoke, well, I'm this, right? Like I understand the struggle because I'm Caribbean, because I'm from Puerto Rico. And, like depending on where you're from, Puerto Rico doesn't necessarily identify with being part of the Caribbean. And I think we talked about this like earlier. There's the struggle with a lot of Spanish speaking islands. There's this disconnect of where does my identity lie? Now, I don't want to speak for, folks because I don't identify with them, but I've had dragged out arguments like, I don't understand why you don't identify this way, but I've grown. I don't question people's identity. So
it's because I think a lot of people from the Spanish-speaking islands might connect when they come to America. They'll connect more with people from the other two Spanish-speaking countries in the Caribbean, but more so wider Latin American countries. So you kind of become more into the Latino or the Latinx culture, and
Right.
Caribbean culture, especially like Caribbean in the States and stuff, is more so
Mm-hmm.
reserved for labeling English-speaking Caribbean people,
Mm-hmm.
mostly
Yeah.
Jamaicans.
I was about to say, you mean
Honestly,
right?
it is mostly, yeah.
Yeah.
I really liked like when the hurricane was happening and like the way like I like the way it portrayed how it is to have family who still lives in the Caribbean as somebody who like lives in like North America. The whole like them having to worry previously because they can't reach the people there, and like how it affects your daily life and you feel powerless because you can't do anything from where you were. So I really
You
like
can't
the
go,
way
yeah.
it portrayed, yeah, the way it portrayed like that relationship of having somebody down there and having those
Yeah.
like concerns for things that you can't help them with, except for like telling them to come to you, which they don't want to do because it's their home still.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find this book that The Battle for Paradise is specifically talking about how Puerto Rico dealt with the hurricane. And if you have time, I would it's fascinating. It's by Naomi Klein, because she talks about how
Oh, okay, yeah.
the hurricane is a catastrophe, but people get rich off of it because of the exodus of people leaving to get to stable environments, safe environments, and then it's a new way to colonize islands. And I thought it was super, super fascinating.
Wow. Yeah.
And it's a short read.
So what did you think about the core relationship that's in this story, Malachi and Moni?
Can
I
we
thought it
just
was
say that
cute, but I wasn't invested.
everything doesn't need a romance, like,
Mm.
which is awful coming from me because I'm like, I love romance, but everything, like, I don't always need a romance, because I felt like it really only started to make a difference when they were in Spain, and even then I was just like, let her live, let her fully experience this new country. But he was so focused on, I want to be your man, girl.
Yeah, I just felt like I don't want to say it wasn't necessary, because I felt like it did serve a purpose in the sense that it kind of showed that, you could be a teen mom and still, just because you're a teen mom doesn't mean that you're not allowed to date anymore and have like a regular teenage experience with dating and whatnot. And then it had that bit coming down to the end where she kind of had to tell Tyrone, yo, stop being jealous of me, stop acting
Right.
like I shouldn't be with other men when I
Mm-hmm.
know that you're with other girls and stuff like that. So I really enjoyed like the conversations that the relationship brought about, but I don't necessarily know that I was invested in the relationship itself. And I wasn't too sure how I felt about, like, in the beginning, he would like touch her hair without asking her, and he would kind of like pursue her and be very persistent after she would tell him off. And I'm not too sure how I felt about like that.
Yeah, I think we need to grapple with the difference between persistence and harassment, right? Like, that continues to come up. Like, if I say no, it's not about playing hard to get. It's just that I might not like you. And wearing people down to get the yes is really a consent issue. Whereas I think if we were talking about this, 3, 4, 5 years ago, it would be like, oh, that's cute. Now I'm just like, she said no, dude. Let it go. But, it is what it is. Because some people like that. So.
Yeah, I feel like it's because like that is part of the culture where people are like they'll think of it as a hard to get situation, especially like African American communities up here in Canada. Like people will think like that's just part of like, oh, they're supposed to be like macho, they're supposed to chase after you. And since we have her inner thoughts and know that she's actually interested in him, but she's trying not to be.
Sure.
So I think like that's like the line right there.
Yeah.
That's where it gets blurred because we know as her inner thoughts, but if you're watching it as like an outsider.
That's why I didn't want to like. That's why I said I didn't know how I feel, because I don't know if it's like a cultural thing, and I don't know if it's like just me sort of, kind of looking from my own perspective of how something looks on the outside.
Yeah. What was she had a best friend that had came out, right?
Angelica.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Angelica.
I
I
felt
forgot her name.
like, I mean, this is the benefit of just finishing it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
What did you feel like their relationship was balanced?
That's a good question. Like, I didn't feel like it was like extremely fleshed out
Mm-hmm.
because,
What do
like,
you mean?
obviously, like they were
No, I
like
was going
really
to ask what you
close.
mean by balanced.
Like, I
Yeah, like
think you got the impression that they were super close, but there were like these blackout moments where it's like, where did the friend go? This, I feel like if you're saying that you're best friends, you would be a part of this
Yeah.
decision. You would be a part of like this storyline. And there were things that I was just like, do young people talk to each other this way? Because it seems kind of harsh. Like
yeah, I'm trying to like.
when she was like trying to make her cook for the girlfriend,
Mm,
you know. So I just felt like, and I don't know, maybe I'm overthinking it. So I think there's two thoughts. Like maybe it was underdeveloped, so I was just like, I feel like friends will really talk through this. But similarly, right, one friend is having her own experience with coming out, finding love, and then the other person is trying to raise a toddler. So it could be a little bit of that. And they just had like conflicting values that weren't fleshed out.
I feel like because there was like it was like a larger cast of characters, and there were a lot of different like issues that we were talking about in the book. Like the dad is like not there. Tyrone is a thing. Malachi is a thing. She's trying to be a chef and she's having problems with her teacher.
Mm-hmm.
Like she has her work. So there was a lot of different things. So I think that took away from the core relationship because obviously they don't spend as much time together now that she has a kid.
Right.
So maybe that's what it's supposed to show is like they were friendly, like they were best friends before, but since she had a kid, like they're still close. They still love each other.
Yeah.
But they're not as big a part of each other's lives anymore. Like things are changing. They're going away. Like the whole her friend leaving to go to New York for school. That was interesting because I expected it to be more like emotional for her, being like, oh, we're not going to be like, this is going to be even harder for us now. But it was very much like she bottled those emotions in for like 5 seconds and they moved past it immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's a good example of why I was like, is this right? Or is this like how it would play out? But you might be right that there were a lot of things being fleshed out and talked about.
I don't know if this is a testament to the fact that maybe the friendship wasn't fleshed out, but now that y'all mention it, I really can't remember much about the friendship between the two of them. I mean, I haven't read the book in a while, but it really isn't something that stood out to me. I remember more about the grandmother, particularly. I felt like she was the secondary character that had the most impact in this story.
Mm-hmm.
Because like a lot of what affected the main protagonist directly affected the grandmother. If anything happened to her child, it would fall back on the grandmother. If anything happened to her, it would fall back on the grandmother. So the grandmother is really the person in the book Buela, who I really felt was like the secondary character that stood out to me the most. What did y'all think about the scene where the teacher made her throw away the food? Like, I understand from the perspective of like chef and culinary arts and whatnot, but as a West Indian who has a high no wasting food policy, I wanted to jump in that book and slap that man.
Yeah, like the whole, I don't know, that chef thing, like he was taking it to the extreme in the beginning. He very easily could have been like, oh, I'm just failing you, like whatever. But I guess we're supposed to like assume like he's like one of these, like he's supposed to be like Gordon Ramsay or whatever.
Oh, but don't you feel like you've had one of those teachers though? Where
maybe I've
they're
just been blessed.
super hard on you because the way that they feel like they can inspire you to be better is by terrorizing you. You know,
I definitely think that was the case with this teacher. Like, that's what he wanted from her, honestly. It's not that he disliked her or anything. At first, I thought he was maybe a little bit jealous of her because he did realize that her food tastes better than his. So I wasn't sure if there was anything like that going on. But I knew that ultimately he wanted what was best for her. I just had an issue with the wasting of the food. Like I'm just like, no, you're not throwing out no food, not in my house.
Yeah, I
But
feel like
she learned
that
a
was like the one part that was
valuable
fleshed
lesson.
out. Yeah, that's like the one part that was fleshed out, and it was consistent because like when she went to Spain, everything she had been taught before, and like when she went to the restaurant with her grandmother, and she was like annoyed because she didn't know what one of the ingredients was because it wasn't on the menu. Like the cooking part of this, like the plot in the story, it was like the most consistently like fleshed out portion, which makes sense because that is like her core, like the essence of her character.
You know,
and this book made me feel very hungry, and it made me want to cook. And it made me realize that I can't cook as well as Imani, because every time I cooked after I read a bit of this book, I was like, this ain't tasting like how the food in Imani book tasting.
Wait,
right? This ain't invoking no memory. It needs to invoke some more salt. I didn't try any of them. No, I wanted to try the strawberry one.
Oh, okay.
But all my strawberries was rotten, so I had to throw that out.
Oh, I
it's not the sweetness of
use the whole milk. This is an oat milk household.
Oh, but you could still do it with oat milk, I'm sure.
Yeah, could do it any milk.
I mean, I'm in the same boat. I don't drink. I'm lactose intolerant, so.
You don't need it. Don't let anybody tell you that you do. So what else? What else? Did you? Like what was the guidance counselor? Right, there was one who was like.
There was a guidance counselor.
Yes, she was like, don't give up. Make sure that you tell me. Didn't she help her get back on track for like missing class or missing school once she was pregnant? Am I making this up?
That was her. Yeah, the person who runs her first period class, whatever that's called. Advisory.
Oh,
I love.
Yeah, her name is Fuentes. Miss Fuentes.
I love that.
Right.
You always need that one.
I thought I was really forgetting.
Well, it should be sad that I remember because but I thought every student that we consider beating the odds, it's one of those teachers in the background making sure that you remember that there's something special in you and don't let anybody tell you because of your circumstances any different. So I love that little nugget that but she did it gently. She never came at her like, chef.
She really let her make her own choices. Yeah. Like she didn't agree with some of the things that like she was saying, being like she doesn't want to go to college and stuff. She just was like, have the like options open for yourself. So even if so that you don't have like no options, you can still choose not to do it if you get in, like that kind of.
Yeah, I liked her. She was one of my favorite underrated characters in the book.
Did you guys think there was too much going on in the book?
I felt like the book might have been a little bit drawn out at times. I mean, it was almost 400 pages long, right? And there was some certain parts, like when they went to Spain and like before when they were prepping. Yeah. When they were prepping before Spain, and I was just like, just reach to Spain already now. Like, why are y'all taking so long? Like, so there was certain parts that I felt was kind of drawn out.
I actually felt like there was so much build up to Spain that once they get there, I was like,
it went very quickly.
Yeah, and it wasn't that amazing. Oh, my heart fluttered though when the little boy stole her purse, and then they chased him down, and then she gave him the money. I was like,
and then they go and Pretty Leslie throws up on her shoes.
Pretty Leslie, what did y'all think of her? Like a lot of people had an issue with her. Like a lot of people felt like it was kind of like shaming the feminine character or whatever. What do y'all think about it? Like a lot of people had an issue, like it was very girl hate-ish or whatever.
See,
I didn't really know how I felt about that when I read it though. Like
I never understood why there was beef. Like I never understood like why do we think it's because of a guy because Leslie's interested in Malachi. And I felt like that was kind of like, okay, whatever. Like I just ignored it because like I knew Pretty Leslie, there's probably more going on behind the scenes that we don't get to see as a reader. And you sort of get like the hint of that when Malachi is like, oh, she has her own shit she's dealing with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I thought it was really so two things. I thought it was really clever to talk about. Sometimes you don't even know where the beef is coming from, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, why do we even hate each other when we could actually be friends? So I thought that was really interesting. And the second thing is, I thought that girls have to make decisions about how they're going to survive and navigate these spaces. And sometimes you have to use your femininity as a weapon, right? In order to for people to take you seriously or to get access to certain resources or attention even in the school
Yeah.
system, right? So I thought it was like that was the message. Just like sometimes you have to use it for your best and sometimes it doesn't work because then you lose out on the friendships because how people perceive you or not. But I thought that
Mhm.
they resolve the tension between them really quickly, right? You don't become friends with somebody you hated for how long, and just because you share hustle, everything is fine and dandy. So, but I thought it was necessary because everybody has like that relation. Everybody, that's not.
Yeah, like
But
it doesn't like I felt like it was like it showed just because they came from the same neighborhood doesn't mean that they were going to automatically be friends. Like they both chose to do different things once they got to school. So I found like that part very realistic. Like I've been like I went to primary school with people and we were like the best of friends, and then we went to secondary school and we did not talk to each other anymore. It was just like a
Yeah.
decision we both made. So it was really realistic to me. Like sometimes there isn't like a source of the beef. It's just y'all chose to do two different things, and now
and you
y'all are
have to.
friends. Yeah,
You
exactly.
have new friend groups. You know, did he develop faster or earlier than some of these developed earlier than the other? That also plays to all of that
They're
jazz.
kind of breaking up on me, but no.
Oh no! Can you hear me now?
We can hear you,
No,
but you're
like,
like glitching, like you're in the
yeah,
matrix.
you're glitching like a robot. You sound like a robot.
I'm not. Is that better?
It was so
Yo, this is a sci-fi movie.
Is that better? No.
I think so.
Your voice is better, but your screen is frozen.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, say something. Say a sentence.
I am not a robot.
Good.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, yeah,
Questionable
yeah, yeah,
comments, but good.
yeah.
You guys are perfectly clear to me. This is weird.
You're glitching again.
Did either of you read The Poet X?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, I haven't read it yet, so it's on my
It's
list.
really good. It's really good. Very different from, I mean, obviously it's written in poems, so it's different, but like the story and the character and the themes are very different. So Elizabeth is definitely a versatile writer when it comes to themes and characters.
Interesting. Cool.
I can't wait to read her next book next year. It looks so good.
Oh yeah.
What's it
Y'all saw
called?
that cover? It's called
Yes.
Clap When You Land. Is it Clap
Okay,
When You
I'm
Land?
Googling this
Yeah,
right
I
now.
think so.
The cover is gorgeous. Whoever designs this woman's covers is the best.
Oh, that cover
Well,
is really pretty.
yeah, but didn't she get in trouble? Somebody got in trouble for the Poet X cover, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it was.
designer of it copied a photo. But the way they handled it was very good. Like the publisher also actually stepped in. Because like
Yeah.
authors don't get as much control over the cover as you think they do, really, unless it's written into their contract that they get like to say whether or not they like the cover. Most of the time it's just like, this is the cover you're getting for these reasons because sales thinks this is gonna work and marketing thinks this is gonna work, blah blah. Yeah. The cover is stunner.
Yeah, I love it. It's about two sisters, and I think they're half sisters, but they don't know that they're sisters. And then the dad that they share dies. So one is from New York, and one is from the DR. And when both their dads die, then they discover each other.
Yo,
So we're
that
reading
sounds
it?
fire. Yes, we are. That sounds
Okay.
fire.
We're gonna read that.
We know next year already. Should we talk
Yeah.
about what we're reading next that we decided on?
Yeah. Should we announce it?
Yeah, there it is.
Oh. The stars and the blackness between.
I don't own it yet. It's fine.
The
It's
stars
fine.
and the blackness between them.
Wait, your book is
by
different
Janata
from mine?
Petrus.
Is it?
No.
Oh, okay.
It looks exactly the same.
Oh, I thought you had a paperback because I was gonna get super upset.
No.
Like it also depends on the country you're into if they do paperback or hardcover.
Yeah,
like Canada does
because
more
in
paperback.
in Trinidad, sometimes we get paperbacks. Like I have a paperback of On the Come Up, even though the paperbacks are not out yet.
Just depends on the region you're in, what
Okay.
they decided to print in.
And in the back of it, it says for international sale only. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm super excited about this. They were talking about.
So we
this
broke
book
down here and we can't afford hardcovers. What was that, sorry?
They were talking. A group of people were talking about this at BookNet Fest. So.
Oh yeah, I've seen it recently a lot more online. Like on my timeline, people have been talking about it recently.
So this book, y'all, is about a queer Trinidadian main protagonist. Me. Love it.
You're
Love
so
it.
pleased.
Yes. This is much needed. It's set in the States, though. I think it's two main protagonists. The one from Trinidad and the one is a Black American girl. And then the one from Trinidad, her mother finds out that she's gay, doesn't like that, and sends her to live with her dad in the States where she meets the next girl. So it's about their romance and love.
Nice.
And it's magical realism, I think. So this cover does look very SFF, though. Like, if you look at it, it looks very... Yeah. I thought it was sci-fi when I first saw it. And then I was like, why are they wearing regular clothes in space?
When are we trying to read this by, guys?
We need to decide on like a date.
Yeah, or at least a general month.
Maybe January, by the end of January.
That works for me.
Yeah.
Sounds good. First of...
I think I'm supposed to buddy read this with Shane from Luxurious Blue, so...
I like him. He's so sweet.
Yeah.
He's a good hugger, by the way. That sounded really bad.
That's good to know.
Yeah. Well, if you come to BookNet Fest next year,
you can find dates are announced, Sajid. I'm just saying.
Yes, I want to come. I just have to like
GoFundMe.
Dates are announced, Sajid.
I could fund myself. I just need to like come. I need to like not be my introverted self.
Oh no, they do a really good job of like taking care of the introverts. But if you do come, I think we should do a Bashment Book Club live show because there's a room that you could do collabs, right?
We could film a collab. You have to come because now we need to film a collab video. I'm sorry.
Yes. Okay. I have to come. Okay. Yeah, I have no choice. If I don't come, you all have my permission to come to Trinidad and beat me.
Like I got the money to come down there just to beat you.
No, we will be vacationing.
Unbeaten me.
I do not promote violence.
Y'all, only one person is watching the live show according to my thing.
Same.
Well, that they got a good show. All of their attention. Do you have questions? We can answer questions.
They came when we were talking about BookNet Fest.
Oh, okay. Well, I see people liking that we started, so.
Do you guys have any other thoughts about this book that we haven't already? What did you guys think about the fucking short chapters? Because that literally grinded my gears until I got used to it.
I found like it was a little bit confusing. I usually like short chapters because they get me through books faster. And I tend to read more of a book if the chapters are short. But like some of the chapters were very ethereal and kind of abstract and memory driven, whereas some were a little bit more solid. and then some were kind of in between, and I just didn't really get the structure, and I didn't really get like what she was trying to do in terms of the structure and the organization of the book. I didn't really feel anything consistent while I was reading it. But I didn't have a problem with the short chapters itself. It's like, if you have short chapters, you just have to make it work in the writing, and I don't necessarily know if it worked so much for this book, but it wasn't a huge issue for me at the same time.
Yeah, I feel like the problem for me was when she would stop a chapter mid-scene and continue the scene in the next chapter. Like, that's the only thing. Like, I liked when it was like asides, like something like exploring something that just happened in a scene. And it's like talking about like a specific issue, because that happened in Americana too, where she would like delve into the culture a little bit and explain something that was like in a scene before. I liked those parts, but it was just like the part where she would be like, "Oh, we're gonna kiss now," and then the next scene is entitled "Kiss," and it's just like about them kissing, and then the next scene is about them walking, and I'm like, okay, this could have all been one chapter. Like, that's the parts where I was like, okay.
Yeah. I don't remember it offending me, so maybe I didn't notice.
I love the use of the word offending. This book offended me because it had short chapters. This book is problematic. Elizabeth Acevedo is cancelled. Oh wait, y'all! I was letting go of a breath I didn't know I was holding.
I cannot.
Y'all, next time I land on a tarmac when the plane fly in, and next time I land, I'm gonna let go of a breath I didn't know I was holding. I'm gonna be like.
Oh my god!
I feel like authors really need to get the memo that line is a joke now to most young adult readers, and it's a meme, and just don't do it, because you're just going to cheapen the writing a lot more.
Why not just say you let out the breath you were holding? Because you would understand, like, you're scared, you're holding the breath, and then you let it out.
Yeah, that makes sense. But how would you not know you holding a breath? You're supposed to know what breath you holding and what breath you're not holding. How you gonna not know? What does that even mean? Like, I don't understand genuinely. Like, what does that mean?
Have you ever paid attention to your breathing though? Because sometimes you hold your breath a little bit longer than you should. And that,
Yeah, but it never dawned on me, that I let go of a breath I didn't know I was holding,
If I've let go of breath I didn't know I was holding, I didn't know it. Like, I don't remember.
Right.
At all.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing.
Yeah.
If you didn't know, then you can't like reflect on it in a narrative, You're not conscious of it. That's like saying, I felt my cells respirating or something like that, it also like I feel my water pumping the blood through my body.
Well, so the way I think about it though is like, oh, how did I end up home? Is because I'm on autopilot, and it's just like, oh wait, what did I just do in this? So it doesn't again offend me as much because, I know it.
I guess it makes sense that maybe Elizabeth Acevedo, like, she knows what she means when she writes it, and I guess for some people, maybe you have a kind of consciousness of your breath, like maybe you do realize that sometimes you're letting go of a breath that you didn't know you were holding. But I don't realize that maybe when I'm having a panic attack, but like not.
That's what I think about it.
When the plane is landing or something. Unless I'm having a panic attack when the plane is landing, which happens
when it's taking off.
Yeah, it's when it's taking off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Taking off is really scary, especially when it's taking off and you kind of feel it dip a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm like,
so this is gonna
Caribbean Airlines, y'all okay?
So this is going to sound really morbid, but I always think the plane is going to blow up when it's like taking off. And then I have to tell myself, girl.
The first time I had really bad anxiety was triggered by actually my first trip to Canada. And I don't know why, but I kept having this feeling that the plane was going to blow up.
Mm-hmm.
And I traveled many times before that, and I never felt like that. But like this time around, I was so freaking scared. And I was like, oh Lord, please let me reach Canada before I die. It would be depressing to die on a trip to Canada. Sorry, Peach.
I would move to Canada. Well, I've only really been to Montreal, so I can't say Canada, but I would move to
Montreal is Canada.
That's what I'm saying. I can't say I would.
But it's also French-speaking Canada, so it's a very different culture to Toronto. I said it's French-speaking Canada, so it's a very different culture to the rest of.
Yeah.
the country.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I don't think I've ever been because Toronto is west. No.
It's more east of it's east no, it's west
Vancouver?
of Montreal, but it is more in the east of the country, right?
Yeah, it's like
Okay.
southeast. It's nearer to New York.
Oh, so why haven't? Oh, so I might be. I need to look at a map.
You don't even know where you went.
Let me go ahead and look at a map before I say. No, I went to Montreal and Quebec, and I enjoyed myself. What I was trying to say before I had this mental block of geography was that I can't say I would move to Canada when I've only been to 2 places, right? Like, but of that experience, minus it being hella cold, in July, yeah, I enjoyed it.
It's funny because
I went to Winnipeg in August and it was freezing.
Yeah,
and these
I'm like,
crazy
what is
Canadians
this?
were like, "Oh, it's so warm out today," and I was like,
I'm like, what?
and they're all
Honestly,
in their little short
3
pants and
degrees.
thing, and I'm like,
Yeah, 3 degrees, and I'm just like out here like, oh, it's warmer than it was. It was like -7 like 2 days ago. This is nice. I can wear a light jacket.
You know,
You get used to it real quick.
when I am cold,
it took the Bajan out of you.
when I'm cold, I feel like I will murder people because I'm like, why is it so cold? I need warmth. I feel like myself when it's warm. I like a good toasty 80 degrees. That's what I know I'm alive. Anything less is too cold.
I mean, I'm always in a toasty 80 degrees, so I'm just like indifferent to it at this point. I'm like, oh, it's hot today, just like it was for the past 22 years of my life and counting.
You know, it's true, Paige, because like whenever I go back home to visit, I'm like, why is it so hot? My skin is on fire. And I got my first sunburn whatever year I went back to visit. I was like, wait, I can burn too. And now I make sure I wear sunblock.
You're the white lady.
my
it's funny, yeah, like I
did get sunburn once though.
I do. Yeah, I get sunburn because like my skin is not used to having sun because I live in fucking Canada. It's never.
I didn't know what was happening to me. I was like, why is my skin peeling? And everybody was like, you're having sunburn, and I'm like, oh, that's what sunburn is. Okay.
This is what they call them.
I thought you're supposed to turn red, but I didn't turn red. I was just peeling. But maybe it's because I have darker skin.
Yeah, like, I get really dark and then I peel. Like I don't get like red necessarily.
Yeah, I got like bumps and then my skin started to peel. I was like, what? Am I getting a rash? I'm just dumb.
I'm not looking. That's one thing. I'm like, when I go to Barbados, I always have like the fan on in my bedroom, and I'm like sitting in front of the fan all day because I'm not used to the fan anymore. Exactly. And people like down there.
This is standard Caribbean living over here.
My mom does not use a fan, and she won't put it on herself at night because people in Barbados are like, if you have a fan on yourself at night, you're gonna die.
What?
No.
Is it the same as you can?
I sleep with a fan on and my AC in the corner there.
I think like I don't know.
And I'm in my underwear when I'm sleeping.
It's what the fuck. The first time my mom told me that, I was like, "Are you seriously telling me this?" I was 23-year-old.
Do you not see my ceiling fan blasting? I have to sleep with it on, or else I'm like, am I even alive?
Honestly,
I will boil. And I still wake up sweating sometimes with the AC on and the fan.
My mom.
But don't you have to sleep with a blanket though?
Yeah, I do sleep with a blanket. Obviously, I'll die of hypothermia.
But it doesn't make sense. Like, just take off one, right? Like, either leave the AC on.
You see, that's the thing. The problem is that the AC is not good at circulating air, but it's good at cooling the room. And the fan is not good at cooling the room, but it's good at circulating air. And I need both. I need the circulation and I need the cold temperature. So I put on the fan and the AC.
Got it. That was physics, right? No? Yes. Look at us.
I'm a scientist.
Oh my god, I'm dead.
Mess.
So it's the person who failed. I failed physics, and I wasn't allowed to do it for CXC. They didn't allow me to pick it as a subject. Yeah, I got to pick chem and bio, but I didn't get to pick physics.
Wow, that is wild.
But look
I
at
have
you
one
now.
final question for you.
Yeah.
What did you think of the grandma lying to her
To go
child?
see Shiman.
Mhm.
Bop, bop, bop.
I love
Well,
that. I love that.
me too. You know why? Because I think like sometimes the older generation, right, they espouse like, oh, don't do this stuff out of wedlock. We can't have these kind of salacious relationships. And then it's like, but Granny, what you doing? Right? And I think it
Mhm.
just shows that like just because you get to a certain age doesn't necessarily mean you can't be in a loving relationship. But I don't want to talk about it either. So
Mhm.
that's how I took
But she
away
needed, yeah, but she
companionship.
needed it too, though, because she didn't have a life for herself. As a
Mhm.
woman from a poor black community, as an immigrant woman, her life has been revolved around taking care of the people around her.
All of
And she
them.
finally got to a point in her life where it's like, I've been taking care of my son, his daughter, now her daughter. I need some time for myself. I needed some time to be Gloria. You know,
Mhm.
I just needed some time away from being Buila to being
Mm-hmm.
Gloria. And I really like how Imani was mature enough to feel a little bit hurt by it, but at the same time understand that it's not really about her. It's about her
Mhm.
grandmother finally being able to live her life. Because Imani too, you know, all of us, we kind of look at our parents and the people who take care of us as a resource. And sometimes we
Mhm.
kind of have to
The
stop and say,
unending.
this is a human being who needs to be
Mm.
taking care of themselves and not just,
Mhm.
you know, my child, my grandchild, you know.
And
Yeah, I really appreciated that.
I think it also shows that sometimes
Especially as a woman.
you don't
Mhm.
have the language to talk about you know this new phase too. So I think it gave her some agency. Yes, she lied, but it gave her some agency to only talk about it when she was ready.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I liked like the one part that I really liked and it felt like really connected was the part where she was like, he makes me feel like a woman instead of just like a grandma. And I was like, oh, I see what she's doing here. I really
Sneaking
Granny
those
appreciated
getting
that
on.
kisses.
complexity. Mhm.
Sneaking those kisses.
Granny getting on.
So the person who just joined the chat to see y'all acting, so
Did they leave? We're sorry. No, we're not.
I left the chat. I think I left the chat. Maybe that was me. Hold
oh
on.
god. No, somebody joined when you guys were doing that, and I was like, okay, this
Oh.
is a representation of exactly what kind of mess we are.
I think this is why people tune in. They want to see what, we're going to
Well, y'all
bring.
are gonna get up tonight. Oh, what are you singing today, Sajid?
Yes.
I
I
was
was listening.
hoping you all wasn't going to remember that, you
No.
know.
Yeah, it's tradition at
No.
this point.
I was listening to a little Sean Paul yesterday, and I was like, this would be perfect. I don't know the
Oh
song,
God.
but
Which song though? I know like a few. I know like the
Temperature.
main one.
We were just
yes,
talking
let's
about
do temperature.
how hot
Let's
it
do
is.
yeah,
Oh
let's do
God, I
temperature.
can't. I don't know the words to that. I know the like the song, but like, what's the words? How does it start?
You could
Hold on.
pull up Google.
Girl, the way you something like you got the right kind of temperature for
Yeah.
keeping me warm. That makes it turn me on. And go like.
Uh-oh.
That was beautiful. 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
New ringtone.
What other Sean post? Oh, somebody, Yogi with a book commented.
Hey, what's up, y'all?
We didn't spoil it too much though. This isn't a book that's too spoiler heavy. Like even if you hear a spoiler, it's not
Yeah,
really
like
something that
it's not like a plot driven book. It's more about her as a
yeah,
character
it's
growing
really
than
a
what
character
happens.
driven book.
Yeah.
It's a book where when you hear spoilers, you actually want to read the book more, in my opinion.
What was the comment?
I haven't read the book, so I was a little afraid that I'd be spoiled coming into this, but it was worth it.
Yay!
Thanks, Boo.
Sajid, you're on a different
Thank
level
you.
tonight. I appreciate it. So, since this is our last read of 2019,
and the decade. This is our last one of the
Possible
decade.
decade. I don't want to think about that right now.
Well, I feel like this has been really anticlimactic. I feel like we should be making a bigger deal out of the fact that the decade is finishing, especially in this age of social media, but people just don't seem to care. I feel like last year people were making a bigger deal about 2019 around the corner than they are about 2020. I don't know if it's just me.
Listen, I survived Y2K. I can't do it again. So that's
What's
all I'm
Y2K?
When it was turning 2000, everybody thought they were gonna die.
Excuse me? Were you not born yet?
I was like 3. I can't remember.
Yeah, I was like a young child. I did not know this. Yeah, I think it was.
Paige was an old lady. Not Paige. Lynelle was an old lady.
Yeah, I was in college.
I love how it's. Oh my god!
I was a literal child. I don't remember it.
I was a baby.
Yes,
I don't even remember it.
I was in college. Yes.
I don't even remember it. I remember like 1999, but I don't remember 19. I don't think I conceptualized 1999 turning into 2000.
Listen, I remember.
Well, I was born in 97.
You're younger than me by 3 years. Holy shit. Okay.
The beginning of 97, January 5th.
I remember when 1999 was a big deal because I was like, so what are we going to have now that this Prince song is no longer applicable? Because now we can't be like looking forward to 1999 because it's past. And nobody has given us an anthem to look forward to. What are we going to say, 2060? Come on now. That don't even sound right.
Dead. Oh my god.
But we're going into the 20s. Y'all ever thought about that? Like, we're going to be in the 20s.
So
the
what
new
are we
20s.
going to say? You know, like, people are like 18. Are we going to be like 20 or are we going to have to say 2020? Like, you know what I mean? I'm really having
2020
pause.
probably. It's 2020. Why are we discussing?
So when we get to 2021, are we going to say 2021? No, it doesn't sound right.
I was trying to get us back on track, and here we are discussing Y2K.
You guys don't remember, so there's that.
I was going to ask, what was your favorite read for Bashment this year?
Oh.
That's what I was trying to get at.
I think in terms of like overall like enjoyment, impact of the story, probably Here Comes the Sun.
Same.
Because the what's it called? Hurricane Child was cute, but it was a middle grade book, so it didn't like resonate that much. I wasn't a huge fan of Next Year in Havana. So with the fire,
I like that one too, but yeah, Here Comes the Sun.
I wasn't a huge fan of it. Like, especially looking back on it more and more, I kind of get a little less. It was good, but it wasn't like, oh my god, the best thing ever. But I understand why people would like it. Yeah.
Are we reading Next Year in Cuba? Because Beatrice?
Yes.
I don't know if I care to read about Beatrice. We're
gonna make you.
Hello, she's an FBI agent. Or CIA, one of them.
Are we supporting the FBI?
No, never.
We're supporting whatever her name is.
Yeah, that's
Beatrice. Chanel Clayton.
Yeah, I feel like it would be a toss-up between Next Year in Cuba and then With the Fire and the High. I'm sorry, like Here Comes the Sun to me was like painful to read because of all of the violence.
It is a very traumatic book, so I would understand why somebody, especially from the region, wouldn't like it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And can I get some piece of literature from Jamaica that is not like homophobic,
trauma, violence?
No, I'm not.
This was the first Caribbean book that didn't have any homophobia.
I know.
Have you read? Well, it's like Caribbean adjacent, I guess, because we're in America, but
right.
Because all the other ones did.
Yeah, a horrible addict.
And then the next one we're reading is about homophobia. It's about somebody running away from the homophobia on the island to America. So that's already like a problem there. We need like a queer Caribbean book that's just like, oh, you're queer? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Live your best life.
Can we get that?
But like, queer Caribbean people are not living their best lives.
That's like,
it should be hard down here.
Reality, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then but it was still painful. Good book. Did anyone read Patsy? Isn't that the follow up or
No,
another?
I have
No,
it
I haven't read
here. It's not a follow up, but it might be set in the same world. I love this cover, by the way. This is the UK cover.
I was about to
it.
say
Way
the
better
cover.
than ours.
Yeah, I think it's like red and pink or something like that, right?
Yeah, this one is so much better than the US edition. But yeah, this one is set in New York, I think. Like it's about a woman who leaves Jamaica and she leaves her daughter to live with her mother, and she goes to live in New York with her long time girlfriend or something. So it's also about homophobia and running away and that kind of stuff.
Did anyone read The Queen of the Conquered?
What's that?
And
I think she said hi and bye.
And Jared, yeah.
It's the not follow up. It was the high fantasy from Cassin Calendar.
Yeah, that one's like on my list.
And then they have a second one coming out, right? Like a sequel. I saw the covers; they look so cool.
The first one ended on a cliffhanger, so it's just like this better be a follow up, but yeah, the covers were cool.
Yogi with a book commented that they're Cuban and DNF next year Havana.
Yeah, the first 100
melodramatic.
Yeah, the first 100 pages of that was like awful. Not awful, but like it felt laborious to get through, and then it picked up.
Yeah.
And the only person
I don't know
that
that
was
I would have
I'm here
finished
from the
it.
beginning. Yeah.
I don't know if I would have finished it if I wasn't reading it for the club.
Book club, yeah.
But
I do want to read Don't Date Rosa Santos. She said that one and Lost Saints by Danielle Jose Older were better.
Okay.
And I have both of those, so
we could probably consider those for next year. We haven't read any, like if we talk about Hispanic Caribbean, we read kind of a Puerto Rican book, kind of. And we read a Cuban book, so we need to read something about a Dominican character. Maybe that could be Clap When You Land.
Yeah. That's what I was about to say.
Because one of the main protagonists in that book is from Dominican Republic.
DR. You know what we really should do is try and get a French-speaking and Dutch-speaking island in the rotation. Because
we should read something in Suriname.
That would be good.
Because we've been mostly reading islands, but they are Caribbean countries that are not islands.
Ooh.
3 of them in particular.
Look at you always giving us that knowledge. Drop it.
I always try to remind people because when people think Caribbeans, they think islands, and then the Guyanese and the Belizeans are like,
yo.
Hello. I'm part of CARICOM too, you know. This is a CARICOM passport too, you know.
You know what we should do? And I know this is, you're just saying about the Caribbean, but I feel like we should read something about the Hawaiian. It's not monarchy. I can't remember what it's called. But I think that could be interesting too. Even though it's not a part of the Caribbean, I know. But it's an island with rich history that gets lost. I'm just saying.
Yeah, we could consider it. We could maybe do a crossover, with another, a Polynesian booktuber or something.
I actually read a Filipino indie author. It was a romance novella, and I really, really liked it. It was about the film industry in the Philippines and how it was like this lost art of how they specifically film movies because they would be filming movies now very American. And I was like, oh, interesting. Never really thought about that. But then it had me thinking about how America has this appeal.
Modernized,
Yeah. Anyway.
Okay, so one book that you would recommend these people, and then we will get off of the internet and live lives because it's late in Sajid's life.
Wait,
it's 9 p.m.
One book we've read for the book club or this year?
This year. Any book that you think people should read.
Let me go to my Goodreads.
Yeah, bless you for still using
I'll recommend a Caribbean book since we on since we are on Bashment Book Club, I'll recommend a book set in Trinidad because bitches be biased. And this is probably the only Caribbean book that I read for the year that we didn't read for Bashment Book Club. So that's The Yard by Aliyah Inayat. It's a really good story. It's about a family, and this one kid gets adopted into the family, and him and the main protagonist are around the same age, and they kind of develop somewhat of a liking for each other. So the book is about the complications around like a adoptive sibling sort of relationship, and it follows them for like about 30 years. It starts when they're like 11 and it ends when they're like in their 40s. It's really good. Set in a Indo-Trinidadian Muslim family. This is the only like work of fiction that is about an specifically Indo-Trinidadian Muslim family. There's like no other book that exists yet about that kind of experience. So it was really cool. There were a lot of like parallels to, like, in terms of the community and family dynamic, there were a lot of parallels to my own experience, minus the whole adoptive sibling weird stuff going on. So I'd recommend it if you're interested. It's not amazing, but it's a really good book.
Cool. I would recommend Get a Life, Chloe Brown. So her family is Jamaican, Jamaican British. So the grandmother was the first one to immigrate to London. And the storyline, the main character has fibromyalgia, and I don't think I've seen a lot of books about like chronic illness not showing up in a way that people are traditionally used to seeing, because fibromyalgia is like an unseen disability, right? And so it's just about her navigating now that she has the diagnosis. Before she got the diagnosis, people didn't believe her, and so that's that whole conversation about not believing Black women when they're saying that they're in pain, or why am I saying when we are in pain, and her making decisions about like getting her groove back with this redhead who's a painter. And I love the grandmother because she was like every Caribbean grandmother that I can think of. She's just like, stop this nonsense. Do what you have to do and get out of my space because I have to go have tea. And tea was the cure for all the pain. So I would recommend that one. It was a really cute story. So it was like Caribbean adjacent.
Yeah, mine isn't Caribbean, but I would say mine's Spread Out on the Ground by Alicia Elliott. She's an Indigenous writer in Canada, and it's a collection of essays about being Indigenous in Canada and like colonization. So like, I don't know that much about it because I didn't grow up here, and even though I was here for high school, we don't learn about it in history class. So I've been like slowly educating myself more, and that book was so good.
I love the cover.
Yeah,
it's cute.
It's such a good book.
We should also read eventually maybe something by an Indigenous Caribbean author, because conversations around indigeneity is definitely something that we don't talk about in the Caribbean at all.
Yeah.
And I think it's because a lot of Indigenous people in the Caribbean are kind of like, I don't know how to say it, but like mixed out. A lot of them, mixed with other heritage and whatnot, and it's kind of like systematically being erased. But like in Guyana and Suriname, Indigenous communities still exist to like a large extent. So they've done writing, and there's a book, can't remember the name of it, written by a Guyanese Indigenous author. So we could probably look into reading stuff like that.
That would be super cool, because I remember, I can't remember where it was, where they talked about how Indigenous people were really the first people to protect the land from colonizers, and they either had to, similarly to to America, they had to either assimilate or they were killed off. So, but they for many of them still kind of preserve their culture through medicinal ways that we unknowingly are keeping up a culture. So I think that would be super cool.
Yeah, sounds
I'm
good.
seeing this. Sorry, I was laughing just now because I was looking at pictures of a mine spread out on the ground, and I found a picture of another book that's literally titled "Hello, I Want to Die. Please fix
Please
me."
fix me. That's one of our books. That's a Penguin book.
Really?
It's apparently
Oh, maybe that's why it
amazing.
showed up.
It's about like
Yeah.
depression. So it's apparently really good. One of my friends read it recently, and she said she loved it.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have a little
That
bit
title.
of homework. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do some research and come up with some books for next year.
Well, I
from
was
book club year 2.
I was told that I can no longer make choices, so I will follow your.
Why? Because you made Hurricane Child. Was that?
Did I? No, I think I was trying to offer up like Caribbean mystery books, and you were like,
God,
no,
no more. All right, we're not doing.
No, those books. Y'all remember that one book that Paige found?
Yep. Murder in the Caribbean, and there's a white lady on the cover. Love it.
You know, it's really funny because I was looking up something, and one of the recommendations was a Agatha Christie.
Yeah.
How is she a Caribbean mystery author? What is this?
Because it was set in the Caribbean. That's literally why it came up. So if anybody's watching this wants to write Caribbean mystery.
I went in my university library and I was looking at the West Indian fiction section, and I saw that book, Agatha Christie. I'm like, why are you all putting this white woman?
Oh my gosh! I was like, just because she wrote something in Egypt, or right, there was a title about something in Egypt. You know, we can't like include her in everything. But we should read a mystery.
If anybody wants to write a Caribbean-based mystery, go for it. I would, but I don't read mysteries. So,
how's your book going?
Murder Caribbean Style.
Not writing.
That's the name of it.
Murder Caribbean Style.
My
yes,
gosh.
that cover is iconic. Love it. Want it framed.
Don't forget the dead man in the corner.
I love that book so much.
Oh my god.
Love it. Cruise ship in the background. It's beautiful. Everything I could want in a book.
Why they do us like that, man? Why they do us like
that? I screamed when you sent me that cover.
I couldn't keep it to myself. Okay, friends, let's wrap this up. Let Shadra get on with his life at 9:17 p.m. Caribbean time.
Yeah.
Any final words?
Reading is good for your health.
Wow, Mom, thanks.
Drink a lot of water.
Say it in a Caribbean accent. Reading is good for you. Read a damn book.
We will be back in January. Wow, look at us being consistent. I have to buy the book. I'll buy the book as soon as this live stream ends. I swear. Okay. Bye, friends. Thank you for watching us be nonsense for an hour, as usual. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.